Okay, I was having a hard time getting pictures of this to show up, so I thought, well, I'll just run a video really quickly. Okay, so these are the coffin boxes, and I was going to show you how to make them into treat holders very quickly and simply, and how I made them so that they can open just at the top rather than taking the box top off. I put a little tab on here, and then it's basically hinged at the bottom. Okay, so I just wanted to show you very quickly. Oops, bonk. So what I first do is it comes in a package of 12. So you get 12. Let me pull the package over here. You get this little package of 12. So there are 12 box lids and 12 boxes. So this is the lid and this is the box. Okay. So what I normally do is I'll take one box lid and one box bottom out at the same time, and I'll start folding the flaps down. I'll fold down the big ones first, and then I go back through and I'll fold the little tabs on each piece. So hopefully you can see that. See what I'm doing? And these teeny tiny flaps, I'm going to get in there and crease them really well so you can see where they are. Okay, so those are all folded down. And when you fold something on a score line, sometimes you don't really get a choice about it if someone has already scored it. But you want to fold it like towards the bump. So the bump is on this side where it's kind of, you know, raised. And so you're going to fold it towards that side whenever you fold a score line. It works best if you fold it towards that little, towards the bump, right? So the bump is on the underside, so we fold towards the bump that way. So like I said, with the other one, I fold the big sides in first, and then I go back through and I'll fold the little tabs so that I've got all the movement in there. I think I've got all those done. Okay, so the next thing that I do is I take my Tombow multi-purpose glue, and I'll just work with one piece at a time. Now, I like to have a paper towel next to me. We grab one because sometimes the glue comes out a little faster than I want. I use a very small amount of glue, so let me go ahead and I'll just slide this one over for a second. I only work with one piece at a time because here in Colorado it's kind of dry, so I don't want it all to like dry out. With this multi-purpose glue, so I'm just going to put it on the tabs. These are the parts that fold under, right? When I get to these tiny ones, you want to put just a little bit so it doesn't like squeeze out all over the place, but it's good to get it down kind of where you want it, right? Anyway, like I was saying, it's dry here in Colorado, so I don't want this to dry because when this multi-purpose glue, it's called multi-purpose glue because when you use the adhesive while it's wet, then it makes a permanent bond. If you put together the pieces after it has dried, and this is a little bit more, I'm using a new glue thing, so there's a little bit more glue on here, but if you wait until after it is dry, it's a temporary bond. So I'm going to hold these pieces together. You'll want to make sure that you've got your, let me get it on my felt, that'll help, that you've got the end of this lined up straight here. And so this is another reason I get a paper towel, is if I squeeze any out, I can wipe it on the paper towel. So I will go fold under the parts that I put glue on first, because they're going to be like the driest, right? So you'll just hold them there for a second and just wipe off any bits that come out, because with the liquid glue, this Tombow multi-purpose glue, it does dry sticky. It doesn't dry like clear and hard. It'll dry a little bit kind of off-white, and it stays sticky even after it's dry because, like I said, if it's dry, it has a temporary bond, so it's still going to stay sticky. So you don't want little bits of glue there where everything is sticking to it, right? So we've got that. We'll get this other one. Now, up until this point, it's pretty easy to bend these little pieces, just kind of bend them and you know, press them where you want. When we get to the bottom, I found that it's easiest if you bend both of these little flaps here and push them up at the same time, even though you're only going to be kind of pressing one closed at a time. It just works out better that way. I really, really hope that next year we'll get a die for cutting out these boxes because they're adorable and I love them. And I would love to be able to make more whenever I want. Get my fingers wet. So another reason that I like to use the liquid glue for this is because if you don't quite have it in the right space, you have a little bit of time to sort of move this around and straighten it up until the glue is dry, right? So I've got those pretty much done there. Okay, so that's the lid. Oops, got glue boogers on there. Okay, now I do the same thing with this piece, right? I'm going to go over it and try not to use as much glue this time. So this is, when I'm doing the video live, I can kind of see what I'm doing because I'll watch on my tablet, but I don't have my video set up to be able to do that when I'm not doing something live. So I have to kind of look at the top of my phone that's sitting up here on a stand. So I'm sorry if I'm not quite getting this. And I'm doing this on my phone. Lots of times when I shoot videos that are not live videos, I'll do them on my camcorder, and it has a little screen that I can see what the heck I'm doing. So you can see already here a little bit of what I was talking about earlier, where it has already kind of started to dry. See how it's gone from like the white to this just kind of reflecty kind of thing. So again, these tabs are gonna get folded under, right? And I'm gonna line up the fold at the end of the tab here with this straight piece of this next side, okay? And then same thing over here. I'm going to bend this tab back, put this little stinker here, line it up. Sometimes I find it's nicer to kind of set it down, but I did get glue on this thing a second ago, so maybe I'll hold off. So again, fold back the tab. Just like on the other one, I started attaching with the tabs that I had put the glue on first because it started drying first. Once again, fold the tab under, get it over there and line up that fold line. You want your cardstock to be right up to the score line, but like not on the score line, right, when you adhere it together. And again, on this one, if you just get the very corners of this that you got all gluey and move both of them to the inside of the box at the same time, it's much easier because once you put this together, you're going to have to like bend this side in all sorts of like strange ways and contortions in order to get it to the other side of the piece of cardstock where you want it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we've got these all done. So you can see that liquid glue works pretty quickly. So, and then the way this works is, this one is kind of not quite, but it's probably pretty much done, so I can't do anything about it right now. So this is how the box looks when you're done. It's a cute little box, and the box lid just opens. What I did with my project to make it open, and I set it down, and I can't see where the heck I set it down now. Oh, under my paper towel. Da-da-da. To make it open like this, I took off the lid, I took my paper snips, and I just cut, yes, I just glued this together, and now I'm going to cut it, but I'm going to cut right up here, right, just this little part right here. I'm going to take some glue, and you just cut it straight up on those score lines. Take some of my multi-purpose glue. I'm going to put the lid back on, kind of making sure that I put the top part on first, right? And then I'm going to press the bottom here for just a second and just hold it there. And then once it gets a little bit of a grip, then I can open it up and carefully, so that I don't shift it or move it, I can just reach down in there and just kind of press and get that on there a little more firmly, right? And then the box will close. You want to be careful when you glue these. You can see that I was like a little bit away from the score line right here. If you go too far away from the score line, see how I can pull that apart because it was kind of dried and it kind of did a temporary bond. if you, need to fix this, then go in and, carefully try and pull it apart, and then, put your glue back in there and get that lined up appropriately right with the corner of that, because what happens is, like on this one, if you could see just a second ago, it was just not staying closed when I closed it because the lid was not quite tight enough. So if you don't get your tabs glued right up to where the score line is, it's not going to really be quite tight enough to stay closed. So pull that. This one I kind of almost didn't do. Those tiny ones on the lid are like kind of a pain in my behind. So that's a little bit better, but then I could do this one. We'll see if I can peel this one back. Sometimes you can, peel it back enough. If you can't quite get it to peel back enough, sometimes you can get your scissors down in there so that you can kind of, saw it apart and do some little surgery. So I'm just going to give this a little more glue. See, if I had really put this together while it was, I'm going to cut this little piece out of here, while it was totally wet, then I would not have been able to pull it apart. But let me pull out that little tiny piece of paper there and just see if I can tighten this down just a little bit more. So now you can see there's not so much of a gap between where this panel is lines up and the score line. It's like right at that score line, right? So that'll help make your lid a little tighter. So if you're finding that your lids on your boxes are not holding it closed, or not staying closed naturally, that's probably why, is you didn't quite get those closed all the way there. Got cat hair all over everything. So for this one, then the last thing that I did for this was to make it easier to open, I put a little loop of ribbon. So this is I think it's a 3/8 inch basic black scalloped edge ribbon that's in the Monster Bash suite of products. I actually stapled it, and you can see on the inside, I stapled it twice. You don't have to staple it twice. Probably I could have gotten away with just once, but I wanted to have it stapled kind of down here, right flush with the edge of the box, and then kind of up here so that it wasn't just pulling on the back of it there. I don't know, just me. But this way, the box can just be pulled open like that, and you don't have to like grab around it or anything. The only caveat about doing your boxes this way is, if you don't like seeing this little flap on the underside, then, definitely you can do it another way. But I found that even when I snip it right there and I have candy in there, it's still, even when I put it on the end, it stays closed. And when you set it on the end like that, you just really can't see those little tabs kind of sticking out there. So, and that's what my project that I'm actually making these for. I'm going to make, these are just very simple ones so that you can purchase just the boxes and the ribbon and the paper. And then, of course, you're going to want Stampin' Dimensionals. We do have black Stampin' Dimensionals, which I neglected to pull out. And here's why you're going to want those black Stampin' Dimensionals, because if you're looking at this from the side, you can see the white of the Stampin' Dimensionals underneath there. So I'll probably take a heat gun and warm those up and pull those off and use the black Stampin' Dimensionals. But I figured this way, if I showed you how to use this and how to make these cute little treat boxes, and then you can also see these. Now these I did cheat a little bit, and I used some of the dies that coordinate in that bundle. But you could do this without the dies. I just wanted to show you kind of a simple thing that you could do just using like the paper and the boxes and the ribbon, and not having to purchase any stamp sets or dies. Of course, if you want to buy the whole thing, the Monster Bash Suite Bundle is really awesome. You get the Spooktacular Bash stamp set. You get a box of the little Coffin Boxes, which, like I said, there's 12 in here. You get the dies, which I thought I had right next to me, but I think they're upstairs. So they cut out these really pretty ornate frames. I believe you get the ribbon, this is the scalloped ribbon. And what else is in there? The Designer Series paper is in there. And I think, oh yes, and then there's also some epoxy, some cute little epoxy I think there's like little black dots, little black bats, a little black like skull and bones, maybe a raven and a little tombstone. And so those are all things that you could add to like embellish different things on here. So having the whole suite obviously gives you lots more options. The project that I pulled out the coffin boxes to create, I'm going to try and finish up and get that uploaded tomorrow. And if you want to do that, then you'll definitely want the entire Monster Bash suite. So I'll give you, if you have sat through this video patiently, I'll tell you what it is. It's actually going to be a 13 days of Halloween advent calendar. So it's really kind of fun. So you can see how you can decorate the boxes very simply. Instead of just doing them all simply for the completed project, I thought about just having it all simple, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just go all out and put like a lot of embellishments and stuff on it. But then you can see how you could also just do it simply, right? So by doing this project and having just the treat box itself, you can see how you could just do the simple box without the stamp set and the dies. But I really love the dies. The ornate dies are just really really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and use those. So that's it. And I hope you guys tune in to see the 13 days of Halloween advent calendar. I'm really excited about it. And that's about it. If you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I call it my customer newsletter, like a kitty cat. So like these guys. Then there should be a link at the bottom of this post where you can subscribe to that newsletter, or at the very bottom underneath my signature on my blog there is a link that says to subscribe to my blog by email, and that's how you get my blog posts right in your email inbox. So those are actually two different things, so don't get those confused. But that's it. I will see you guys, and happy stamping.